Major Emma Blake stood in the cold metal corridor of the Earth Orbital Registry building and tried to ignore the laughter behind her. She had returned from 3 years of war on Titan with scars that ran deeper than skin and memories that woke her at night. The military pension was small, and the inherited space station from her great-aunt Margaret was supposed to help her start over with her daughter. Beside her, Lily shifted her weight from foot to foot the way all teenagers did when they were bored and wanted to be anywhere else. The registry building smelled like recycled air and broken dreams mixed with the sharp scent of cleaning chemicals that never quite worked. Emma watched her 17-year-old daughter and felt the familiar mixture of love and worry that came with being a single parent trying to build a life after war. The clerk behind the desk was a thin man with tired eyes who moved papers around his desk like they were the most important things in the universe. He had the look of someone who had given bad news too many times and stopped caring about the people receiving it. "Major Blake?" He finally said, after making them wait for 20 minutes, "Your great-aunt Margaret Blake has left you Station Omega 7, located in Sector 9 of the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter." The laughter from behind them grew louder, and Emma turned to see a group of well-dressed people standing near the premium customer lounge. Their clothes cost more than Emma had made in her entire military career, and their faces showed the kind of confidence that came from never having to worry about money. The woman in front wore a color-shifting suit that rippled between blue and silver as she moved. Her name tag identified her as Director Hartley from the Hartley Corporation, which owned half the private stations in the solar system. "That worthless old junk heap," the woman said, loud enough for everyone in the building to hear. "My company bought 3 stations in that sector last month just for scrap metal value. The station you just inherited is not even worth the fuel cost to fly there." The others with her laughed, like this was the funniest joke they had heard all day. One man actually slapped his knee while another woman covered her mouth in fake sympathy. Emma felt Lily tense beside her, ready to say something that would probably get them both in trouble. But Emma put a calming hand on her daughter's shoulder. The weight of 3 years of combat experience helped her keep her voice steady and professional. "Thank you," she said to the clerk. Ignoring the mocking group completely, "We will take the inheritance documentation now, please." Director Hartley stepped closer, and Emma could smell her expensive perfume that probably cost more than a month of food for a normal family. The woman's smile was sharp like a predator who had spotted easy prey. "I will make you an offer, soldier," she said, using Emma's former title like it was something shameful. 5,000 credits for the complete salvage rights to that floating pile of garbage. That is more than anyone else would pay. And honestly, more than it deserves. Emma remembered her Aunt Margaret and how everyone in the family had called her crazy for living alone on that old station. But Margaret had also been the only family member who understood why Emma joined the military, and the only one who never judged her choices. Margaret had sent messages during the war filled with strange stories and encouragement when Emma needed it most. "No, thank you," Emma said, keeping her voice neutral. "The station is not for sale, Director." Hartley shrugged, like Emma had just made the stupidest decision of her life. "You're a lost soldier. When you realize what a worthless burden you have inherited and cannot afford the maintenance fees, you know where to find me. The price will be lower then, of course." The woman walked away with her group, all of them still laughing and making jokes about stupid soldiers and worthless inheritances. Emma accepted the digital transfer pad from the clerk and pressed her thumbprint to make the inheritance official station Omega 7 with all its mysteries and memories now belonged to her and Lily. The transport ship to the asteroid belt was an old model that had seen better days, possibly before Emma was even born. The engines made concerning noises, and the air recycler struggled to keep up with the 100 passengers crammed into the cheap section. Emma and Lily sat in seats near the engine compartment where the vibration was worst but the tickets were cheapest. The constant shaking made sleep impossible, and the noise made conversation difficult. "Mom, why did we take the station?" Lily asked during one of the quieter moments when the engine was cycling down. "Everyone says it is worthless, and those people seemed pretty sure about it." Emma pulled out her personal communication pad and showed Lily the last message from Great-Aunt Margaret. It had arrived just 3 days before the old woman died alone on her station. The message was short, but Emma had read it so many times she had memorized every word. The base holds more than memories. Dear one, it said in Margaret's shaky handwriting, trust what you find there, and remember that the best treasures are often hidden in plain sight. Lily read it several times, then frowned in the way she did when solving a difficult problem. That does not really make sense, Mom. What kind of treasures could be on an old mining station? Emma agreed, but she had learned during her military service that sometimes you had to take chances on things that did not make sense. Margaret had never led her wrong before, and Emma trusted her aunt even in death. The journey to the asteroid belt took 2 days of uncomfortable travel and bad food. By the time they arrived, Emma was ready to get off the transport ship even if they found nothing but vacuum. The transport captain was a gruff woman who clearly considered this route beneath her station Omega-7 floated in the darkness between 2 small asteroids that had been mined out decades ago. The station looked exactly as bad as everyone had said it would. The hull was pitted with thousands of micrometeor impacts that had never been repaired. The solar panels were bent at odd angles and barely seemed to be producing power. Several sections showed patches where different colored metal had been welded over hull breaches. The docking bay door refused to open automatically and had to be cranked manually by the transport crew, who complained the entire time. This heap is not going to last another year, the transport captain said as Emma and Lily put on their environment suits. You sure you want to stay here? We are sure, Emma replied, checking the seal on Lily's suit one more time. The captain shrugged and left them standing in the dock. The transport pulled away without waiting to see if they made it inside safely. The silence of space settled around them, heavy and complete. Inside the station was worse. Then the outside emergency lighting flickered in random patterns, casting strange shadows on walls covered in frost. Their footsteps echoed in the empty corridors, and every sound seemed amplified by the metal structure. The artificial gravity was failing, in some sections making movement disorienting. This place is definitely creepy, Lily said through the suit communicator, her voice trying to sound brave. Mom, are you sure about this? Emma was not sure, but she kept moving forward through the dark corridors. She had downloaded the station layout to her pad and knew the command center should be 3 levels up from the docking bay. They climbed stairs that groaned under their weight. Even in the low-gravity dust particles floated around them like tiny stars, caught in their helmet lights. Some sections of the station seemed older than others, with walls made of materials Emma did not recognize. The command center door was sealed with a lock that required genetic authorization. Emma placed her gloved hand on the scanner, not expecting much, but the system recognized her Blake family DNA. The door opened with a grinding noise, revealing banks of dead computers and empty chairs covered in dust. Everything looked like it had been abandoned for decades, but some equipment seemed newer than the station's supposed age. Lily pulled out the military-grade scanner Emma had bought her for her last birthday. It was not a toy, but real equipment that Emma had saved for months to afford. Lily had always been talented with technology, and the scanner responded to her touch immediately. Mom, she said after a few minutes of scanning, I am getting a really weird energy signature from somewhere below us. The reading does not match anything in the scanner's database. Emma looked at the display and saw patterns that made no sense according to normal physics. The energy was coming from deep in the station below, any levels shown on the official blueprints. They should probably leave and come back with proper equipment and backup. But something pulled Emma forward. She needed to know what Margaret had been protecting all these years. They found a service elevator hidden behind a panel that looked like a normal wall. The elevator still had power, though the source was unclear since the main reactor was offline. It descended past all the official levels into sections of the station that appeared on no documentation. The walls down here were definitely different. They were made of a material that seemed to shift between metal and something else. The surfaces had patterns that hurt to look at directly, like they existed in more dimensions than human eyes could process. Lily's scanner was beeping faster now as the energy readings grew stronger. Mom, this is incredible. These readings suggest a power source that should not be possible with human technology. They followed twisting corridors that seemed to curve in ways that defied the station's architecture. Finally, they reached a massive vault door covered in symbols. that seemed to rearrange themselves when not looked at directly. Emma approached slowly and saw a hand scanner beside the door. Every instinct from her military training said not. Arya Moonwhisper moved through the transforming station with the grace of flowing water, and her silver hair floated behind her as if she were underwater. Her 3,000 years of sleep had ended, but she showed no signs of stiffness or confusion that would normally come from such a long rest. Emma followed behind, trying to understand everything that was happening, while her military mind catalogued the impossible changes occurring around them. Lily walked beside the dragon creature Stellarian, who had somehow shifted his size to fit within the station corridors. The dragon's ability to change size defied every law of physics Emma knew, but she was quickly learning that the laws she knew were incomplete. "Your daughter carries the gift strongly," Arya said without turning around as she led them through corridors that glowed with soft light. "She can bond with Stellarian because her guardian blood is the purest I have seen in many centuries. The connection between them will grow stronger with time." Emma watched her daughter reach up to touch the dragon's scales, which rippled between metallic silver and organic blue. The sight should have terrified her, but instead she felt a strange sense of rightness, as if this was always meant to happen. "What exactly is a guardian?" Emma asked, as they entered a room that had definitely not existed on any station. "Blueprint." Arya waved her hand, and the walls came alive with moving images that looked like living memories. The elf woman's voice took on the tone of a teacher sharing important history. "Long ago, before your recorded history began, humans and my people worked together in what we called the synthesis. Your species brought creativity and adaptability, while mine brought what you would call magic, though it is simply science you have not discovered yet." The images showed humans and elves building together, creating wonders that defied explanation. Ships that looked like living creatures sailed between stars while cities grew from seeds, planted in impossible soil. Weapons channeled the power of distant suns, and healers mended wounds with touch alone. "We faced a common enemy that came from outside our galaxy," Arya continued as the images darkened. "The Devourers consume everything in their path, whether planets or stars or entire systems. They adapt to any weapon by consuming it and making it part of themselves. There is no defense they cannot eventually overcome through consumption." Emma felt ice in her veins, despite the warming station. "So you lost the war area's perfect features showed pain from memories thousands of years old. We were winning until the betrayal came from within. Some humans believed they could control the Devourers and use them as weapons against their enemies. They were wrong, as such arrogance always is." The images showed battles that made Emma's combat experience seem like children playing at warships. The size of small moons were consumed in seconds, while entire worlds vanished into hungry darkness. The betrayers were consumed first, and their knowledge made the Devourers even more dangerous. "My people decided to hide our technology and enter stasis," Arya explained as the images faded. "We chose guardian families from the humans who remained loyal to watch over our sleeping places. Your bloodline was one of the strongest and most trusted. But why hide in a rundown mining station?" Emma asked, looking around at the transforming walls. "Surely there were better places." Arya smiled with genuine amusement. "Look around. You, Major Blake, and see the wisdom of concealment." The station walls were changing more with each passing moment, revealing circuitry that looked organic. Gardens began growing from what had been bare metal floors, filling the air with impossible freshness. Systems that had been dead for decades hummed with power drawn from sources Emma could not identify. The best place to hide priceless treasures is where no one would think to look. Your aunt understood this principle perfectly and kept the station just functional, enough to avoid suspicion while protecting its true nature. Stellarian made a sound like crystal chimes mixed with thunder, and Lily laughed with pure joy. "Mom, the dragon is talking to me," she said with wonder in her voice. "Not with words exactly, but I can understand him perfectly. He says the station is happy to be awake after sleeping so long." Arya nodded with approval at this development. "That is the synthesis bond forming between you. Each guardian pairs with a dragon companion, and together you become more than either could be alone. The bond will teach you abilities you never imagined possible." Emma felt overwhelmed by the responsibility being placed on her daughter. "I am just a soldier who fought a conventional war. I do not know anything, about magic or fighting enemies that eat entire star systems. Arya studied Emma with those impossible star-filled eyes. You know more than you believe. Guardian Blake. Why do you think you excelled at combat beyond your training? Why has technology always responded to your touch better than others? The Guardian blood has been preparing you throughout your life. Before Emma could respond, a communication alert sounded through the station. She recognized it as a priority military channel that should not have been accessible to a civilian station. The display showed something impossible as the station's communication array had upgraded itself. Major Blake, came an official military voice. This is Earth Defense Command tracking massive energy signatures. From your location. Explain immediately or we will dispatch investigation teams. Emma looked at Arya, who nodded encouragement. Taking a deep breath, Emma responded. This is Major Blake, confirming unusual energy readings. The situation is complicated and requires explanation in person. I need to speak with Admiral Grace Martinez directly. There was silence as her request was processed. Then, another voice came through. Emma, this is Grace Martinez and I remember you from the Saturn campaign. What is happening? Out there, because our sensors show your inherited station just increased power output by 10,000%. Emma chose her words carefully, knowing how insane the truth would sound. Admiral, I need you to come here personally with only a small escort. What I'm about to show you will change everything we understand about human history. Grace was quiet for a long moment, weighing Emma's words. That is a very large claim, Major, and not one I can accept without proof. If I am wrong, you can have me arrested. For wasting military resources, Emma said. But if I am right, humanity needs to know immediately. Another pause, then Grace sighed. I will be there in 6 hours. Blake, and this had better be worth the trip. The connection ended, and Emma turned to find Arya, watching her. Will your military leader believe what she sees here? Emma considered her former commanding officer. Grace Martinez was tough but fair, with a mind open to new possibilities. She will have no choice but to believe, because the evidence speaks for itself, but we should prepare for skepticism and fear. Arya's expression grew serious. Others will have detected our awakening as well. Some will come seeking answers while others will come seeking to claim power. They do not understand. We must be ready for both. As if summoned by her prophetic words, another alert sounded. This time civilian ships appeared on the scanner, and Emma recognized the lead vessel. The Hartley Corporation had apparently been monitoring the sector. Of course, Emma muttered, remembering Director Hartley's greed. She probably has sensors watching every station, waiting for salvage opportunities. Arya watched the approaching ships with ancient eyes. These are the ones who mocked you at the registry. Perhaps they should learn proper respect for what they do not understand. The Hartley ships arrived in less than an hour, moving with suspicious speed. Director Hartley's voice came through the communication system, dripping with false concern. Major Blake, this is Director Hartley, calling to check on your safety. We detected unusual energy readings from your location that could indicate system failures. As the primary salvage company in this sector, we feel responsible for your well-being. Emma could hear the greed behind every word. The woman had probably been waiting for any excuse to claim the station. Thank you for your concern, Director, but everything is under control. No assistance needed. The channel crackled. Then Director Hartley spoke again with less pretense. Major, I think we have a misunderstanding about the situation. That station is in violation of at least 30 safety codes that I could cite. We will need to board immediately for a proper inspection. Emma started to refuse, but Arya placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. The elf woman's voice carried through the communication system like music given form. This is Guardian Arya. Moon Whisper speaking for Station Omega 7. Your inspection is neither required nor welcome. Depart immediately, Director Hartley laughed with ugly amusement. I do not know who you think you are, lady, but you have no authority here. Major Blake, we are coming aboard with or without permission. The Hartley ships moved closer, and Emma could see weapon systems powering up. They were not military grade, but could still cause damage to the station's exterior. Then Stellarian roared. The sound was not mere noise, but a wave of force that rippled through space itself. The dragon had grown to his full size, standing in the station's transformed landing bay. His wings spread wide with energy crackling between organic scales and mechanical components. The Hartley ship stopped instantly, their weapons powered down without being commanded to do so. Lily stood beside Stellarian with her hand on his massive flank. She glowed with the same energy as the dragon, and her voice carried impossible authority. "This is our home now," she said with power that reached across space. "You are not welcome here." The Hartley ships turned and fled without another word. They moved faster than civilian vessels should be capable of, as if running from nightmares. The transformation of Station Omega-7 became impossible to hide, as word spread through human space like wildfire. Within days of Admiral Martinez's report, ships began arriving from Earth and all the colonies. Scientists and politicians and military leaders all wanted to witness the impossible made real. Emma stood in what Arya called the synthesis chamber, watching another group of potential riders attempt to bond with dragon eggs. The discovery of hundreds of eggs deep within the station had shocked everyone, including Arya. Not everyone could form a bond with the eggs, as most who tried felt nothing but smooth shell. But when the right person touched the right egg, magic erupted into the world. Captain Dana Ross had been Emma's wing commander. During the brutal Titan War, she was tough and experienced, with instincts honed by years of combat. Now she knelt beside a crimson egg that pulsed with inner fire. The moment she touched it, cracks appeared along the shell. "I can hear him," she whispered, as a dragon emerged from the egg, already the size of a large dog. "He is showing me how to fly between the spaces where molecules dance." The dragon she would name Flameheart wrapped around her with scales that shifted from deep red to bright orange. Emma remembered her own first connection to the station systems, the overwhelming flow of alien information that threatened to drown her human mind. But Dana adapted quickly, as good soldiers always did. Arya moved between the bonding pairs with infinite patience. The ancient elf never showed frustration, even when humans made the same mistakes over and over. "Your species fights the connection instead of embracing it," she explained. "You try to control what should be a partnership. The synthesis requires trust between equals, not dominance of one over another." Lieutenant Kim Young approached Emma with a data pad showing urgent information. "Colonel, we have a new problem that needs your attention. The Hartley Corporation has filed an official claim on the entire station. They say it was abandoned property when you inherited it." Emma sighed, knowing this confrontation had been inevitable. Corporate greed did not pause just because humanity faced extinction. The wealthy always found ways to profit from crisis. "What is their legal basis for such a claim?" she asked. Kim scrolled through the dense legal document. "They claim the station's transformation constitutes new construction in unclaimed space. Since the changes happened in the asteroid belt, they want full salvage rights." Before Emma could respond, Lily flowed into the room. Her movement had changed dramatically over the past week. She no longer walked but seemed to glide with dragon grace. "Mom, the Earth delegation has arrived early. Admiral Martinez wants you in the main conference room immediately." Emma nodded and turned back to Kim file a counterclaim, citing the station's recognition of my genetic signature. "That proves continuous ownership by my family line across generations." Kim looked uncertain about their chances. "Colonel, I do not think normal property law covers ancient elf magic stations." Emma smiled grimly at the young officer. "Then we make new laws to fit new realities." The conference room had grown to accommodate larger meetings. The living wall showed star maps marking devourer sightings throughout history. Admiral Martinez sat at the head of a long table surrounded by Earth's Defense Council. They did not look pleased with recent developments. Colonel Blake said General Harrison with barely concealed hostility, "Thank you for joining us. We have serious concerns about the pace of changes here." Emma took her seat, noting how the chair adjusted to support her perfectly. The station always anticipated needs before they were expressed. "What specific concerns do you have?" General Harrison represented old-school military thinking, the kind that believed technology peaked with nuclear weapons. "This alien influence on our personnel is unacceptable. These dragons are changing our soldiers into something no longer human. We need weapons we can understand, not incomprehensible." Magic Area entered the room and Harrison fell silent. The elf's presence commanded attention without effort. Her otherness was impossible to ignore or dismiss. "General Harrison," she said with musical patience, "may I show you something important?" Without waiting for permission, she touched the nearest wall. The room filled with images from the ancient war planets being consumed like fruit, while fleets fired every weapon imaginable. Attacks proved useless against the hungry darkness. "This is what pure technology achieves against devourers," Arya said. "They consume it and learn it and become it. Your nuclear weapons would only create radioactive devourers." Admiral Martinez leaned forward. "With intensity, show them the successful battles from your war." The images shifted to show dragons and riders working in harmony ships that thought and adapted faster than consumption. Weapons that changed their nature between one moment and the next. "Synthesis works because it is fundamentally unpredictable," Harrison Grace said using his first name. "It merges human creativity with something beyond current understanding. The devourers cannot eat what they cannot comprehend." Dr. Patricia Chen raised her hand politely. She led Earth's science division with brilliant efficiency. "How many dragon riders can we realistically produce?" Arya answered with careful precision. "The eggs number 347, but not all will hatch, and not all who hatch will find suitable partners. We estimate perhaps 100 pairs at maximum." 100 against a fleet that consumes stars, Chen said. "Those odds seem impossibly poor, which is why we need more than just dragons." Emma interjected. She stood and the wall responded to her thoughts. Schematics appeared showing hybrid fighters merging human and elf technology. The station can produce ships that think but do not require full dragon bonds. We can upgrade existing weapons with synthesis technology, create options beyond pure riders. Harrison crossed his arms defensively. "And who controls this technology once the threat passes? What stops it from being used against Earth?" Lily laughed from the doorway with genuine amusement. Everyone turned to look at her, who stood with Stellarian in his smaller form. "General, do you really think we want to conquer our own world? We are trying to save it from complete annihilation. The dragon bonds do not work with people who crave power. They only work with those who seek." To protect Harrison looked embarrassed but pressed his point. "That is easy to say now when we face extinction." Arya stepped forward with ancient authority. "General, I understand your fear perfectly. My people had identical debates 3,000 years ago. Some wanted to keep the synthesis for elves alone, but hoarding power led to our near extinction. We learned that strength shared multiplies." The meeting continued for exhausting hours. Slowly, the council came to grudging agreement. Earth's forces would begin training immediately. The hybrid fighter program would launch. Station Omega-7 would become humanity's first defense. As the delegation prepared to leave, Admiral Martinez pulled Emma aside. "The Hartley situation is escalating beyond legal channels. They have hired mercenaries. 3 ships spotted heading this way." Emma felt no surprise at this development. Director Hartley had shown her nature clearly. "When do they arrive?" 6 hours at current speed. Grace paused meaningfully. "Emma, I cannot officially condone violence against civilians, but if they attack first, the station has every right to defend itself." Emma understood the unspoken permission. She found Lily and Dana in the vast training bay. Both were practicing combat maneuvers with their dragon partners. The sight still filled Emma with wonder. Her daughter moved through the air supported by Stellarian's power alone. No suit needed between her and the vacuum Dana, and Flameheart breathed fire that carved through target drones. But the fire showed impossible selectivity. It only burned what they chose to burn. "We have incoming trouble," Emma announced. Both riders landed with liquid Grace mercenaries. Mom Lily's tactical awareness had sharpened dramatically. Emma nodded, confirming the threat. 3 ships in 6 hours, probably armed with military surplus weapons. Dana grinned with anticipation. Finally, some real practice. Flameheart rumbled agreement. Emma felt maternal concern warring with tactical necessity. "Do not destroy them if possible, but make sure they never return." The mercenary ships arrived exactly on schedule. Emma watched from the command center as they took attack positions. "This is Black Star Mercenary Company," came a gruff voice. "Station Omega-7, you are in violation of corporate salvage order." 773 surrender immediately or face consequences. Emma activated the communication system. This is Colonel Blake. You are threatening an Earth defense military installation. Withdraw immediately. The lead mercenary laughed without humor. Nice. Try, Colonel, but we have legal documents. This station belongs to Hartley Corporation now. Fire a warning shot. A missile streaked toward the station. The defensive systems could have stopped it easily, but Emma let it pass to make a point. It exploded against the hull, doing no damage. Is that all? Emma asked with deliberate calm. The mercenaries responded by firing everything. Missiles and lasers and kinetic rounds filled space. The space around the station erupted with violence. Then Lily and Stellarian emerged. From the landing bay, the dragon had grown to full combat size. His scales shifted between dimensions, making targeting impossible. Lily stood on his back, surrounded by twisted space. The mercenary weapons hit the bubble and vanished. Sent elsewhere by synthesis physics. What the hell is that? The mercenary leader shouted. Dana and Flameheart joined them with 6 more pairs. The mercenaries stopped firing immediately. This is impossible. One stammered. Dragons are not real. Lily's voice carried across space. Real. Enough to send you home. Leave now and tell Hartley Corporation this station is protected. The journey to Mars took 18 long hours filled with tension and preparation. Emma spent them in the station's mobile command center, which could detach and function as an independent battleship. Around her flew humanity's desperate hope against the approaching darkness. 112 dragon pairs led by Lily and Stellarian formed the spearhead. 300 hybrid fighters moved in precise diamond formations. Behind them came Earth's conventional fleet of 2,000 ships. Admiral Martinez commanded from the battleship Resolve with steady determination. Her voice came through the quantum link that connected all their forces. Emma, are your people ready for what comes next? As ready as anyone can be for fighting the impossible. Emma replied. She studied the tactical display showing the enemy's approach. The Devourer scout fleet had slowed near Mars to feed. They were consuming debris from old mining operations, growing stronger and larger with each bite. Arya stood beside Emma, watching with eyes that had seen such horrors before. They test our strength, she said quietly. These 5 are expendable scouts to them. If we fail here, the real fleet will come. How many ships in the real fleet? Emma asked, though she dreaded the answer. Arya's expression darkened with ancient memory. Thousands upon thousands. Perhaps tens of thousands. We never got an accurate count before fleeing. Emma pushed that terrifying thought away. Focus on today's battle. Tomorrow's apocalypse could wait. The plan was simple, in concept but impossible in execution. They needed to make the Devourers spend more energy fighting than they gained from eating, force them to retreat and report that Earth was too costly to consume. Kellen Starblade had worked tirelessly with the tactical teams. His knowledge of Devourer behavior shaped their entire strategy. They hunt like pack predators. He had explained, isolate the weakest prey, surround it completely, consume it whole, use that instinct against them. First contact came at Mars's outer defense perimeter. Automated weapon platforms opened fire immediately. Missiles and beam weapons lit up the darkness. The lead Devourer ship did not even slow down. It opened what could only be called a mouth. Every attack was swallowed whole. The creature grew larger with each weapon absorbed. Then it fired back with pure hunger. Not stolen weapons, but something worse. A wave of dissolution that made Emma's eyes hurt. The defense platform simply ceased to exist, dissolved into component atoms, and absorbed all squadrons. Emma commanded, execute pattern Alpha immediately. Do not let them adapt to any single tactic. The dragon pairs scattered in seemingly random directions, but Emma could see the hidden pattern through the station's link. They were creating a 3-dimensional web around the enemy. The hybrid fighters' phase shifted constantly, appearing and disappearing like deadly ghosts fire when you have clear shots. Emma ordered, keep moving constantly. Never use the same angle twice. Dana and Flameheart led the first real attack. They dove straight at the lead Devourer. The enemy ship extended tentacles of living metal, but at the last second Dana phase shifted, passed through the tentacles like smoke, reappeared inside the creature's mouth. Flameheart breathed stellar fire directly into its core. The devourer convulsed in confusion, not truly damaged but bewildered. It had never eaten something that fought from within. Dana phase shifted out before it could adapt, but the distraction worked perfectly. Other dragons attacked from multiple angles, each using completely unique abilities. Lightning that existed in several dimensions, ice that froze time itself, gravity waves pulling in 6 directions. The devourers struggled to adapt. Each attack was utterly different. Each dragon fought with human unpredictability, but the enemy was learning quickly. The second devourer ship split apart. Hundreds of bus-sized hunters swarmed the hybrid fighters. Emma watched 3 pilots die instantly, their ships torn apart and absorbed fall. Back to pattern, Beta, she ordered. Do not let them surround you. Lily and Stellarian roared across the battlefield. The Star Dragon had grown to maximum size, larger than any other dragon. His presence drew the enemy's attention, which was exactly the plan, while the Devourers focused on the obvious threat. Amy Park-led phase-shifted hybrids. They appeared inside the third Devourer, fired quantum torpedoes into its core, then vanished before it could respond. The creature writhed in agony, its stolen mass fighting. Against itself, Emma thought they had killed it. But the Devourer stabilized, expelled the damaged portions, grew smaller, but survived. They are too resilient. Kellen reported. His dragon breathed ancient weapons. They adapt even to internal attacks. We need something completely new. Emma felt the station respond. New information flowed through the link memories from the station's long sleep. Margaret's voice whispered in her mind. Not her aunt's real voice, but preserved wisdom. The enemy adapts to weapons. Dear one. But what happens when weapons choose not to fight? Emma suddenly understood. All units knew pattern immediately. Do not attack directly. Make them chase you. Make them spend energy. The battle shifted dramatically. Dragons and hybrids stopped trying to damage. Instead, they danced just out of reach, led the enemy on complex chases through Mars's gravity, used the planet's mass to complicate pursuit. The Devourers grew visibly frustrated. They were used to prey that fled in straight lines, not prey that turned hunting into art. One Devourer accelerated too hard, chasing Dana crashed into Mars's atmosphere. It survived, but the energy cost was massive. It emerged noticeably smaller and weaker. That is it, Admiral Martinez said excitedly. Emma, they are burning more energy than they can replace. Keep it up. But the Devourers were not stupid. They began to coordinate, forming a net around human forces. Emma saw the trap forming. They are herding us together. Prepare for. She never finished the warning. The fourth Devourer did something new. It screamed. Not sound, but something that hit the quantum link. Every pilot cried out in pain. Dragons faltered mid-flight. For a terrible moment, all human forces hung vulnerable. The Devourers attacked as one. Tentacles and hungry mouths reached for disabled prey. But Lily had trained for this. She and Stellarian flew straight up, above the plane of battle. The Star Dragon spread his wings wide, sang a note that shattered the Devourer's scream. The link cleared instantly. Pilots recovered. Control, but not before 20 hybrid fighters died. Emma felt each loss through the station. 20 brave minds snuffed out. 20 families that would grieve. Arya touched her shoulder gently. Do not count the dead until battle ends. Focus on saving the living. Emma nodded and checked tactical displays. The Devourers had made a critical mistake. Their coordinated attack brought them close together. Too close. All units formation, synthesis time, to show them what we learned. Dragons and hybrids moved as one organism, not individual ships, but a single entity. They flowed around each other, shared energy between them, amplified attacks exponentially. Marcus Chen discovered he could channel power through Amy Park's phased fighter. She became a ghost, firing with 10 ships. Force Dana and Flameheart merged flames with 3 other fire dragons, created a stellar tornado pulling matter apart. Even conventional Earth ships joined the link. Their simple weapons became part of something greater. The first Devourer tried to eat the combined attack. It gorged itself greedily, grew impossibly massive, then kept growing uncontrollably. Unable to stop consuming, its hunger turned against itself. It swelled like a balloon until cohesion failed. The creature exploded, not into debris but pure energy, dissipating harmlessly into space. One down, Kellen reported. But the others learn, do not repeat that tactic. The remaining 4 devourers changed strategy. They stopped chasing individual targets. Instead, they began eating Mars itself, drilling into the planet's crust, siphoning metals and minerals. If they drain Mars, Admiral Martinez warned, they will be unstoppable. Emma made the hardest call. Station Omega 7 to all forces, prepare for protocol. Omega Area looked at her sharply. You mean to use the station itself? Emma nodded grimly. The station was their greatest weapon, but using it meant risking everything. If the Devourers adapted to its power, humanity would have nothing left to it. Lily said over the link, Mom, we trust you completely. The station detached its command section. Emma felt the full power flow through her. 3,000 years of stored energy. The dreams and determination of Aunt Margaret. The hope of 2 species united. She pointed the station at the Devourers, and it transformed, not into a weapon, into something far more dangerous, a teacher. The station projected memories, not attacks but pure information. It showed the Devourers what they had been. Before the endless hunger consumed them, explorers and builders, a race that created rather than destroyed. The enemy ships faltered. Their feeding stopped. For the first time in eons they remembered. Emma felt their profound confusion. The hunger that defined them wavered. Now she commanded, while they are distracted. Every dragon and hybrid fired, simultaneously. Not to destroy but to separate, break the Devourers into smaller pieces, disrupt their collective hunger. The plan worked too well. The Devourers split into thousands of fragments. Each piece retained memory of what they had been. Some continued to feed mindlessly, but others simply drifted, contemplating existence beyond hunger. The largest fragment approached the station. Emma tensed, ready to dodge, but it did not attack. Instead, it communicated, not in words, but concepts. Why, it asked. Why show us this? Why remind us of pain? Because Emma responded through the station. Even monsters were children once. Even hunger can remember joy. The fragment hesitated around it. Smaller pieces gathered. They communicated in ways Emma could not understand, debating and arguing, remembering. Finally, the large fragment spoke again. This sector tastes of sorrow. We will feed elsewhere, but others will come. Others who do not remember. Will you teach them too? 6 months had passed since the Mars battle that changed everything. Emma walked through New Geneva, the floating city that had grown around Station Omega 7. What began as a military outpost had transformed into Earth's first interspecies metropolis. Humans and awakened elves lived together in harmony. Dragons perched on buildings specially designed to support their massive weight. The city floated in Earth orbit, connected to the planet below by gleaming space elevators. But more importantly, it connected humanity to its forgotten heritage. Mom, look what I can do now. Lily stood in the vast training ground with a dozen new riders. She had become the lead instructor for dragon bonding at only 19. No one questioned her authority when Stellarian stood beside her. The massive dragon radiated ancient wisdom and power. The new riders were attempting their first group link, 12 minds joining through their dragon partners, sharing thoughts and abilities across the connection. Advanced work that had taken the first riders weeks to master. These students managed it in mere days. Each generation learned faster than the last. Emma felt equal parts pride and worry. Humanity was changing at an incredible pace. Admiral Martinez had been promoted to Fleet Marshal, joined Emma on the observation platform. The Joint Council meets tomorrow morning. She said they want to discuss the expansion plans. Emma nodded, knowing this was coming. 17. Hidden stations had been discovered across the solar system. Each one held incredible wonders. Dragons were only the beginning. Some stations grew living ships from seeds, others held medical technology that could heal any wound. One contained a vast library of galactic history. Humans were not alone in the universe. Had never been alone. The cosmos teemed with diverse life, and most of it feared the devourers, which brought them to the real pressing issue. We have received 72 requests for protection. Grace continued species who heard about our Mars victory. They all want to join the synthesis. Emma watched her daughter teaching with natural skill. Lily made the impossible look effortless, but the responsibility was crushing. Can we actually protect them? Emma asked. Do we have the right to even try? Grace smiled and pulled out her personal pad. Your Aunt Margaret left another message. We found it in the Earth Station's core. Want to hear it? Emma's breath caught in her throat. Margaret had been dead over a year, but her influence kept spreading everywhere. The screen lit up with Margaret's wrinkled face. She looked tired but deeply satisfied. Hello, Emma dear. If you are seeing this, then you found the station's good girl. I always knew you would. The galaxy needs what we have to offer. Not just our weapons, but our spirit. Humans are an infant species. Everyone knows this fact. But infants grow the fastest, learn the quickest, love the fiercest. The synthesis chose us not despite our youth, but because of it. We can change when others cannot. So yes, dear one, protect them all. Make mistakes, fall, down, get back up. That is what humans do best, and Emma, I am so proud of you. Tell Lily her dragon dreams were real. I always knew they were. The message ended, leaving Emma with tears. Grace put a comforting hand on her shoulder. The council will vote to accept the protection request, but we need strong leadership. The aliens will not follow politicians. They need a guardian, someone who understands both war and mercy. Emma understood what Grace was asking. The weight felt heavier than combat armor. I need time. To think about it, of course, take all the time you need. But Emma, you should know. The Devourers are moving again. Long-range sensors show a massive fleet gathering. Not scouts this time. The real armada. How long do we have? Maybe a year at most. Maybe less. They are debating among themselves. Some want to avoid this sector entirely. Others want to punish us for corrupting their scouts. Emma looked at the city below. Children played in anti-gravity parks, human and elf together. Some showed scales or pointed ears genetics, blending in impossible ways. All those precious lives depending on warriors' choices. Arya approached from the council chambers. She moved like flowing water despite her age. 3,000 years plus 6 months awake. Yet she looked younger than when they found her. Earth's energy feeds me, she had explained. Your species radiates life force. It heals what time broke. Guardian Blake, she said formally. The Synthesis Council has reached its decision. Emma straightened, knowing what was coming. The Council formally offers you the position of Prime Guardian Speaker for all allied species, commander of the Synthesis Fleet, teacher of those who would learn our ways. Will you accept this responsibility? Emma felt Lily watching from below. Her daughter's faith blazed through their connection. Stellarian added his ancient approval. Around them, dragons and riders paused to witness. I accept, Emma said, but with conditions. Arya smiled knowingly. Margaret said you would say exactly that. What conditions do you require? First, humanity leads but does not rule. Every species brings unique gifts. Second, we expand the teaching beyond warriors. Artists, scientists, dreamers all have roles. The synthesis works through diversity. Third, we never forget. We are not conquerors. We are gardeners helping life grow wherever it takes root. The council accepts all conditions, Arya said. When will you tell the allied worlds? Emma checked her pad. The delegates had arrived this morning, representatives from 17 different species, all fleeing the Devourers, all hoping Earth could save them. She had reviewed their files carefully. The crystalline collective communicated through pure light. The ocean dancers lived in Jupiter's moons. The void singers sailed between stars on solar wings. Each species brought unique, knowledge, advanced technology-rich cultures. But most importantly, they brought perspective. Humanity was not alone. Never had been. The meeting convened in the Great Hall. Emma stood before beings that defied classification. Some were vaguely humanoid. Others were geometric shapes pulsing with life. One delegate was sentient gas contained in a mobility field. "My name is Emma Blake," she began. "I speak for Earth and the synthesis. You came seeking protection from the Devourers. I offer something more, partnership," the crystalline ambassador chimed, like breaking glass translated into words. "The Devourers consumed our homeworld completely. We have nothing to offer but grief. Grief is where strength begins." Emma replied, "We all carry loss. But together we can build something new." She gestured and the walls responded, showing the galaxy not as it was but as it could be. The Devourers fear unity above all. They feast on isolation, so we unite, not as subjects of Earth, but as equals in the synthesis. A small, furry delegate squeaked, skeptically, "Humans are infants. Why should we follow you?" Lily stepped forward with Stellarian. The dragon had shifted to incorporate elements from each species, crystalline scales, gaseous wings fur that sang. "Because we remember being weak," she said. "We just learned to fly, so we understand the fear of falling. We just discovered we are not alone, so we cherish every friend." Emma felt deep pride. Lily had found perfect words. The delegates murmured, discussing in untranslatable languages. Finally, the ocean dancer spoke, their voice like waves on distant shores. "We will try your way. But when the Devourers come, can you truly protect us?" Emma answered with complete honesty. "No, I cannot promise protection. But I promise we will not stand alone. We will face them together, fall together, but we will not surrender separately." The vote was unanimous. 17 species joined that day. Work began immediately. Each species brought unique advantages. The crystallines processed information at light speed. They upgraded hybrid fighters, reaction times. The ocean dancers understood fluid dynamics perfectly. They taught ships to flow around attacks. The void. Singers had mapped stellar currents. They showed hidden paths for faster travel. But the most important changes were cultural human. Restaurants served food from 17 worlds. Children played games mixing all traditions. Art became a universal language. Emma established the Guardian Academy on Mars. Students from every allied species learned together. Not just combat, but cooperation. The best partnerships mixed species. A human rider with a crystalline dragon. An ocean dancer pilot and a void singer ship combinations that should not work but did. Because the synthesis rewarded creativity, Dana Ross became the first human to meld with alien technology. She merged with a crystalline combat suit. Her fire abilities amplified through living crystal. "It is like thinking in colors," she explained. "Everything has new dimensions." The Hartley Corporation tried one last legal challenge. They claimed the alien refugees were illegal immigrants. The case lasted exactly 1 day. Judge Chen ruled space law did not apply to beings from other stars. Director Hartley left Earth in disgrace. Her corporation dissolved overnight. Assets distributed to refugee support. Some called it poetic justice. Emma called it overdue. But not everyone embraced the changes. Protests erupted on Earth. Humans who feared alien influence, who wanted their planet pure. Emma addressed them personally, standing before angry crowds without armor. "Understand your fear," she said. "Change is terrifying, but look at human history. We have always been explorers, always been learners. The synthesis does not diminish us. It reveals what we always were. Bridge builders." The protests continued, but smaller. Most humans were too busy being amazed. Alien medicine cured diseases. Alien art inspired new movements. Alien philosophy challenged old assumptions. And through it all, the dragons flew. Symbols of impossible made real. Then came the day Emma had dreaded. Long-range sensors screamed warnings. The Devourer fleet had arrived. Not 5 ships, not 55,000, each one larger than the scouts. Emma stood in the war room surrounded by allied commanders. The display showed doom approaching. "They consume Pluto as we speak." Kellen reported, "By tomorrow, Neptune. Within a week they reach Earth. Do we run?" Someone asked. "Evacuate what we can.